So, welcome, Tracy. Welcome to my little camper in the woods.
Thank you for the invite.
I appreciate you wanting to share your story, man. Like, I've done several of these with females in the same positions, and there's always a reaction from the audience, man, that I think is powerful in a way. You know what I'm saying? Because it's experience and knowledge that a lot of people don't have.
Life lessons.
Right, right. So, tell us a little bit about Tracy. Where you are today, how you are today, how old you are, anything you want to talk about there?
50 something.
Are we saying TL too?
No, I don't
Okay.
care. That's just a Facebook name.
All right.
A lot of people might see that. So go ahead and put it together.
I didn't know who it was for a minute, and then when you showed up, I knew who it
I
was.
know, you told me the story on
Right.
the whole deal.
Right.
But yeah, wrong one.
Yeah, right. It was an H, but it was the wrong H.
Yeah, wrong one. Female.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
wrong one.
So you grew up here in Winchester,
I did.
went to school here. We went to school together.
Hmm.
So I knew you in what? I think I was 6th and 7th grade. You were a little ahead of me.
Yeah, it's about right.
So where did all this abuse start? Let's start there because I feel like that's where 90% of this is going, right? Teaching people about what was going on with you as a young child and how that turned you into the person you were later. Yes?
I would say yeah.
Okay. One of the biggest things I've learned from these podcasts is we do not understand our childhood until we become adults.
Right.
So when we're young and we're poor, we're young and we're rich, we don't understand that that other kid goes home to a house that's completely different from what we deal with, right? So tell us about what you dealt with.
Totally different. Background than I would think a lot of people thought I had. I think, you know, at that age we don't look at it that way, but as you age, you kind of realize it's different. Like judging a book by its cover. There's a lot of people that didn't know a lot of stuff. Kind of like you.
Right.
I mean, we knew each other in school. I don't think we had the same. Well, we kind of had crossover friends of, your group and my group. There was cliques then.
Sure.
Didn't. I had my own little clique. Very little. Probably 5 people.
So did you tell them about this when you were young? Is this something
Yeah.
you shared? Okay.
I would only let in certain ones. I think that would go back. I kind of grew to do that. Only letting in certain ones. So that actually kept my group small.
So when, let's start with who was it that, because I've seen the pictures, I've seen your paperwork and stuff that you sent me on this guy, right? Same guy we're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Right, he's 80.
I don't know now.
Yeah,
He's pushing 80s.
he's older now, so he was
Yeah.
a friend of the family.
Mm-hmm. If you want to go back then I was 8.
Yeah, that's kind of where it starts, right?
Honestly, throughout this whole journey, it actually goes back further than that.
Okay.
I think it would start probably when I was 3 with the divorce of my parents.
Okay.
The youngest of 5. And getting hit by a car when I was 5.
Okay.
I think that's probably when some of the stuff started festering in our family that I didn't realize was dumped on me.
Okay. How do you mean?
In the sense of I was already the youngest of 5. They always say the youngest of 5 is the baby. Whether or not they pick favorites, mom's favorite, dad's favorite, because the youngest.
Mm-hmm.
In that time frame, I think there was probably a little sibling rivalry. Not only being the youngest of 5, but I was also the only girl in the neighborhood. Until my one cousin, Elizabeth, came into the family mix. So at that time, I was a tomboy.
Well, sure.
Hung around with nothing but guys, because the two other people, which was my sister and my oldest cousin, were girls, and of course they were a lot older. So
Okay.
they were not.
Off doing their thing.
Yeah. My sister was 10 years older, and Teresa was probably 7 or 8 years older.
So you're running with the guys, y'all are doing boy stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
3 brothers, you know? So, and of course, all their friends are all guys. So.
So you felt comfortable around guys.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then how does this translate into Tracy starting to, I mean, where does everything go sideways here, do you think? I know you've thought about this before.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
It
where did
started there because being the only girl in the group, I'll just say that there was a lot of incest and molestation.
Okay.
And curiosity.
Sure. Well, you got kids, you got boys. How old are the guys and how old are you?
Probably anywhere from 4 to 6 years older than me.
Okay. So when they're hitting puberty, you're still a young girl.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of that was, and fast forward, because I didn't know then what I know now.
Right.
I think a lot of that was back in those days, late 70s, early 80s. There was a lot of curiosity then, whether it be between boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever. But I think it ran in this small group because it was just something that was done the generation before.
Hmm.
And it was kind of passed down. Even as to, my one uncle cheated with my other aunt. So, like, the brother and the sister, their spouses, there was always, it seemed like there was always chaos that led to a sexual thing. The best way I can explain it without going into great detail, I think I had believed that was the way you're supposed to show love.
I think it starts there a lot.
Mm-hmm. So that when jumping to when I was 8, the gentleman that I shouldn't even call him a gentleman, but
Piece of shit.
the gentleman that you brought up, I think that as a child, at 8, I thought that was just something that we did.
Right.
Because of what had already happened between other people in my family and friends.
So what you had seen and experienced, heard about.
Mm-hmm.
So were you seeing any of these things, like the devious acts of it, or just you knew about the people, the other people that you weren't involved with?
As in the aunt and uncle thing?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it was kept secret for a little while, but even I saw some things, so of course it eventually came out. But it stems into my own family too. There was an incident of where my 2 brothers, my one brother's wife, slept with my other brother. And again, up until then, I didn't realize that it was as bad as it is, or as was, if that makes any sense. Like, how I was taught back when I was 8 and the rape happened, it was shamed. It was not talked about. It was swept under the rug. Let's just forget about it. And to me, it was almost like everyone but one person was okay with it. Which showed me that technically I should have no emotion for it because it wasn't bad.
So everyone did know. You told people.
Yes.
Did you tell them innocently, like not knowing what you were talking about, or did you tell them like, hey, somebody did this to me?
It was different. So I knew it was wrong. I felt that it was wrong.
Different from and how from that?
It was different in the aspect of the other things and times stuff like that would happen. Like I said, I feel that it was something that was passed down or generational or curiosity. That those things happened before. It almost be like it only went so far. But this one went further.
Okay.
Even after the no, I want to go home, I wasn't allowed. And then the next morning, he, of course, sat me on the front porch and told me that if I ever said anything to anybody, they would never believe me. So it was best for me just to not say anything at all and leave everything the way that it is.
So you stayed the night there?
With his daughter.
Okay.
She had me over for a
Sure.
sleepover. I was 8.
So do you ever hear anything about her being touched by him too, or?
That I don't know. I mean, I would think that she would know or would eventually figure it out.
The last one of these I did that was like this, that friend found out from this podcast that it happened. The same situation. Same thing. She stayed there. He touched her. The girl didn't even know.
She physically didn't know or the other girl didn't know?
No, the girl, the daughter. She was the daughter of the guy that touched the friend.
Oh,
And she didn't find out till she watched the podcast.
gotcha.
30 years later.
Sometimes we don't tell automatically. Because from 8 to 15, I didn't tell anybody else.
Well, you were shamed. You were told not to care about it, right?
Yep. Tuck those feelings away.
So how do you feel that shaped what happened between 8 and 15? Like, what does that part of your life look like?
That was probably my most self-awareness years. Especially later on.
Okay.
Because I really started realizing that that wasn't a way to express love.
Right. Was it love, though?
Correct.
Right. So it had nothing to do with that. It was a feeling that of
That's
validation.
what I was taught. That was
and
love.
that would validate the love.
Correct.
Right. You have to do this in order to love me.
Correct.
Such an evil way to shape a kid's mind.
That was the way that I shaped it. Just because of how I grew up.
Right. And again, you don't realize that till you're older.
Correct.
You have something to compare it to. So if you can look back now at your, let's just say, 8 to 15-year-old self and see a warning sign or see some way you were acting or something that you were doing that someone should have seen, what would that have been? Like if I'm a mother and I'm looking at my daughter and I want to know if something is happening. She's not telling me maybe. I'm just curious, is there a certain thing that you did? Because I've heard like pee in the bed, wet in the bed is one thing the girls will do because they don't want to get out of the bed with fear that that person might see them.
For me, and I would think that there would be others this way, only because it's pretty common. It's more common than what some think because it's so simple.
Mm-hmm.
But it was two things. Not, of course, wanting to be seen naked, and two, private time for me in the bathroom. I locked the door. I wish it had like 3 or 4 more locks, kind of thing.
Because you felt more vulnerable with your clothes off.
Correct. And that's only because of how it happened at 8. So,
Which was
and that
what
was something that I had
him
to
coming
heal.
in on you while you were already.
He made me go
Okay.
take a bath so he could watch.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's the initial trauma.
Hmm.
Right. Okay.
So, of course, a lot of it depends on, and what I've kind of come up with is the why. Once you start healing in that area, and it applies to everything, it's crazy. There's always a why. Always. So, because it happened that way, the chain reaction was I felt this way. So those were the two things for me. Now, if somebody else might have been raped by being drugged or raped by just, abuse-wise, then of course it might trigger fear and fighting in that abuse one. That they don't want to go that far to actually fight because then you know what's next. But later on in life, the being drugged one happened too. And that one was from my own husband.
So, how do you think all this shaped your relationships after that? Because, okay, so you were married once, you had a child, correct?
Not with him.
Okay. You all right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you want to talk about?
All of it. The first one was short. I should have known it would have never worked out, but I went for it anyway because we were dating like 4 years, back and forth, back and forth. And of course, those days, no one really talks about, or I shouldn't say talk about, but, a liar was a liar, a cheater was a cheater, so on and so forth. But in those days, you figure out, or what was shown to me, that there's manipulation involved. Kind of like the sex thing, they use it for control. And he did that a lot. But having my daughter, which was a very pivotal moment for my life, I was set and ready to raise her by myself. It didn't matter whether or not I was married or not. I thought it was the right thing to do. At 18, I was to receive a small lump sum of money from the car accident when I was 5. Um, and I was headstrong on, I don't need no man. I will raise her with this money. Was set in kind of in that way. And then, of course, in my opinion, when my first husband found out I was getting that money, that's when he ran back and stayed. But staying angered him. And he was definitely not faithful in that we were dating for 4 years, but only married for a year. So he was definitely not faithful through those 5 years. But I allowed it.
So you knew about it.
Yes.
Was he abusive?
Mm-hmm.
Verbally, physically, both?
Well, verbally and physically.
Right, so
but
both.
when it got physical, I left. I knew.
That it wouldn't get better.
No. It had only grown. It had only gotten worse.
The more you let him get away with, the more he was going to get away with.
Mm-hmm. So I knew at that point I would never allow a man to raise a hand at me ever again. So starting over that time was a little tough because he ended up taking the money, which landed me back at my parents' house.
How did he take the money? Stole it, or?
He was dwindling it on the side to certain people. He spent a lot of it. I can't say that I didn't spend some of it too. We had gotten a townhouse, and portion of that money, bought everything because we were coming in together. So, of course, we needed a living room suite, a kitchen suite. We had nothing together. So a good portion of that money went to house that townhouse.
Okay, and there's no drugs or alcohol involved? You all are not addicts at all at this point, or no?
He was a heavy drinker.
Okay.
But only at night. Weekends got worse. The final night with him was Chastity, my daughter, was 6 months old. And he had went out that night with his brother drinking. And he come home, came up the stairs and came into the bedroom and actually started peeing in the corner of the room. It was dark. But I guess he was that drunk that he thought he was in the bathroom.
I've seen that before.
And when I corrected him, when I turned on the light and tapped on his shoulder, was like, "You're peeing in the bedroom." He turned around and backslapped me, and I went into the wall, and he picked me up off the floor by my neck and had me kind of pinned to the wall and just cussed me out for even touching him, let alone, telling him that he was wrong, that you're in the bedroom, you're not in the bathroom. So once he put me down, I just grabbed my daughter and left, and I didn't go back. That was it. But before that, holes in the walls. I got my uncle to come out and fix so that the people that, we got the townhouse from wouldn't see it, rearranging posters to cover up other things, But when you actually hit me, that was it.
So warning signs there was the violence started on objects around the house, breaking things.
Yeah. There was never any time out. Like if you're that mad at me, then maybe you should just go for a ride. Something. But there was no time out. And a lot of people didn't see that side of him. I think his family knew to a certain extent, because he was a little more hot-headed than his brother. So I think they knew, but of course coddled him, to where it'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the money-wise, he was telling me he was going to work when we really wasn't. He was going to play golf, and spending a couple $100, with the cart rental, the rounds of golf, and blah, blah, blah.
How much money was it? How much was the lump sum of money?
It was supposed to be a certain amount, but after government,
So what'd you get, though? How much did you get?
It was only like 23.
Okay, but back then, it
was a lot of money.
Right, that would be 50 grand today, probably.
In 91.
Right, yeah, at least.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that would go a little ways.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it went a good ways. It bought him a motorcycle. It bought him a truck. It got me a car.
Mm-hmm.
And we housed that townhouse, and we had a nice little, $5,000, I think it was, left in the bank account, once everything was done. So we got a really nice start, I think. But success looks different on everybody.
Sure. Well, yeah. I mean, if you don't have anything, just having a house sometimes is a success, right?
Yep.
Okay, so then moving forward, how many years here before you meet your next husband?
Many. Kind of many. It's weird how we met, but...
So how are you living then? I mean, you're working, you're taking care of your kid, you're single, just dating, life's good,
really
like you're searching for a partner?
Yeah, I really wasn't dating a lot because with a kid, I worked third shift.
Okay.
I felt that was the best thing for me, especially after she started school, because I'll be sleeping while she's at school instead of, trying to sleep, when she's home.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked night shift. I would go in at night, work, come home, put her on the school bus, go back, go to sleep, get up when she got home from school. Did it all over every day.
So that worked out pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't date a lot at that time because you're not on the same schedule as other people when you work third shift.
Right. Just the third shift people.
Correct. So I met my second husband, I want to say like 26-ish. I met him through her father originally. Her father belonged to a car club in Winchester. He would always go to the car shows, and then he got involved with the club itself, which that kind of introduced me to him. But at that time when I met him, he was married. So it's not even that I had feelings for him then. It was just the fact that that's actually when I met him. Jump a couple of years because we did try to make it work, her father and I. And then it didn't because, again, there was a lot of cheating going on. And I never really let it get any serious after that. Because it was like, if you can't stop this, then what's after that?
Right.
Because my track record wasn't very good so far. So it's like, if I continue to allow that, then what's next? Is it the abuse part, or is it the financial part where, whatever we do make, you're going to just take and go blow anyway? So about after 2 years of going back and forth with him and catching him always cheating or lying about something. I mean, he was a great liar. He was probably my lesson on the lying, habitual liar. He could tell me it was raining outside, and I knew not to believe him. I need to go look.
Right.
So, mm, it's not much of a struggle, when you think back, but it was then. And I truly believe that all those struggles were really lessons to prepare me for where I am today.
Okay.
I feel that we were all put here to evolve, whether it be from birth to a toddler, to a kid, to a teen, to an adult.
Mm-hmm.
We are put here to evolve and grow. Everything that life handed me then could have changed my path to continue following or step away. Eventually, I did step away. But I think it's like I had to learn those things first to be able to step away. Why did I stay with my ex for 25 years? After everything that I saw, the repeated patterns, the deceit, the betrayal, the infidelity, some of the lies, but he was better. To me, it was like he's better than the ones before. So how much will I allow? Is that really?
Can I do better?
Yeah. Is that really what he did, or is it just the way he did it? So it's like I questioned that a lot with him. After the first 3 years, I noticed it was definitely a pattern that I probably should have, been like this, it's not going to work, because it was a struggle for the first year was fine, but after that it started.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually started quick, so I should have been able to walk away, but he was a lot older than me.
So there has to be some sort of addictive nature to this portion of it, right?
Correct.
Because it's the same way as any addict that's watched this channel too, because that's 90% of what we talk about is trauma and addiction and what we're addicted to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's something there that wouldn't let you leave. The same thing as when someone's using and they're in the gutters, man, they feel horrible. They're spending all their money. They're losing all their stuff. They can't seem to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it takes 25 years. Sometimes it takes 2 months. So what was it about it that made you stay? Have you ever thought about that? Like there had to be something. So what was it? Was he just so
very
charming?
Convincing?
Okay. So even in his lies that you knew were lies, you wanted to believe them.
Yeah. I had hope that, if I showed him my faithfulness, it would maybe change.
Or maybe this would be the last time he does it.
Yeah. I had hope.
Because you did love him.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you had security there, right? He worked.
Mm-hmm.
Like he provided security for you as well as.
Yeah, it was kind of almost a wish came true. He couldn't have any more kids, and I didn't want any more kids.
Mm-hmm.
He was older than anybody that I had been with in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I felt at that time that I was more mature than someone my own age.
Mm-hmm.
He already had a son, and that was kind of like my childhood wish was one boy, one girl. So he was already established, I guess.
Well, you had attachment to his children now too,
Mm-hmm.
right? His kid, your kids were there.
Yeah.
So your child has an attachment to him. You have an attachment to his child. Y'all become a family,
right?
Regardless of how manipulative.
So there was a lot of things that I allowed. I did. There's a lot of things I overlooked. There's a lot of things that I let slide for the sake of family.
I think a lot of people, and especially women, do that.
Mm-hmm. I think it's our nurturing side.
Sure.
That we want to fix things and make it right.
Mm-hmm.
To a certain extent. Because there's some men that don't want to fix it. You know, they just want it the way that it is.
Mm-hmm. If it's working for them and
Right.
they don't care about your feelings, they're going to continue to do what they do.
And it's not really about change. It's more about being heard. You know, because if you don't play a part of that marriage, then did I matter? And that's what it came down to in the end. I didn't matter. To be honest. And I told him that all the time.
So you didn't.
He made decisions without.
Right. You didn't.
Without me.
You didn't feel important. It wasn't a partnership.
Right.
He was like.
It wasn't a team at all.
Right.
I mean, he made decisions without me. He would just anything. It was just like if we would have only been dating, I guess. You know, like when you're dating, you are in a different
Sure.
mindset, you know. But after 25 years of being with someone, you would think that, you know, financials would be talked about. Big purchases would be, you know, shared. But after a while, because I ended up just, in the beginning, it was like he was always wheeling and dealing and buying a vehicle, fixing it up and flipping it. Buying a vehicle, fixing it up and flipping it. It was just something that he did. I didn't stop it, but it was a sign.
A sign of what?
For him, it was still control over the money. Because the money that he was making wasn't being, you know,
Giving back?
put into the account.
Right.
He had a second bank account on the side that I knew nothing about until I did. But everybody's different. And in his case, he had to have control. So he had to have control of everything. The finances, the house, the decisions. He wanted to play that supportive, I guess, dominant role. But it wasn't in a loving way.
Yeah, sounds like a narcissist. Somebody that just arrogant and worried about them, but will use you if they can for them.
Because he's very charming and very convincing. He owned a business in Winchester for a good while. He knew a lot of people. He had a lot of people in his pocket.
And then moving forward to the divorce, that's been a chaotic battle too, right?
Yeah, it's not over yet. And I'm not sure if I want to go down too much of that road. But
so today
it was final in 23.
Right. So the day you're out of that relationship again.
Yes.
Back on your own. Rebuilding.
Yeah. It kind of started in late 21 with of like a split, but it really wasn't. I'd noticed my own pattern through that length of the marriage, my own pattern in the way that I would handle everything that was continuing to be thrown at me, that I overlooked, that I accepted, that, you know, I allowed, would eventually build up to where it was like, I need a weekend away. So we had a timeshare in Front Royal, and I would go up there for the weekend just to get away, clear my mind, think about everything, come back. Everything would be fine for a couple of weeks, and then it would go right back to the way that it was. And it was like, I guess, it didn't matter.
So he missed you for that little bit of time you were gone. When you came back, he wanted to keep you there.
Yeah. I came back because,
Same circle.
Yeah. The things that were said and the little bit of effort he would put in would be bare minimal.
My grandfather did that. I remember my grandfather doing that. When I was very young, my grandmother would leave. He bought her coffee table one time. She'd come back home. He didn't drink for about 3 days. Fell through the coffee table a week later.
Yeah. So, same.
Mm-hmm.
He was real famous about buying big gifts. So then that way I'm sitting here wondering, where did this money come from? How did you buy that? If you're running the business in the red, but yet you bought this for me, and I'm not a material person. I never had it growing up. Never really wished for it. I mean, there are certain things that I have that I've always wanted, but not that I had to have it, But he would buy big gifts, and being that he was a car person, that was normally the thing that he would do. But moving forward, it was also a thing that he would take away.
Punish you with it as well.
Yeah. Several occasions I would come home from work and he'd be like, clean your car out. Okay. Why? I sold it today. So unstable started becoming a very familiar feeling to me at that time, because he had control of whether or not I even had a car.
So there goes one of your reasons why you stay.
Can't leave if you don't have a job.
Right,
Can't
well, that
leave if
makes-
you don't have a car.
Yeah, that makes it harder because you want to leave, but he's taking the car out of the way. It's kind of like he almost knew that, right? Like things are getting to the point that she's going to want to go. Let me make it so she can't go.
And he would, in the beginning with the two kids, it was he wanted a stay-at-home mom.
Well, sure. That's where the control comes in too, right?
So I did that.
How many friends can you have when you're at home all the time?
Not many.
A couple play dates, and then next thing it is, they don't like that person. I've seen that before too.
Not many. And he made sure that there wasn't many play dates because he was always keeping me busy with after school. Of course, the house had to be a certain way. But, being that I was at home all day, but really I wasn't, I'm kind of there in the morning and then do some things while the kids aren't there for the house. Then I have to stop and go get them and then run them to all their activities.
Well, sure.
And
Being
then
a mother's job.
everything else when I get back. I did that for several years, and it's not me. Not because I didn't enjoy my time with the kids, because I did. It was a very special time with them. But you almost need an adult sometimes. And you want those other conversations, and you want that friendship, and you want that connection with other people. And I wasn't getting it just at home. So I told him I wanted to go back into the workforce, and which I did. And I started off with working for a dental office that was going to train me hands-on, which I have been at it for over 20 years now. When he found out how much I could make, at first it was good for him because he's seen the dollar signs. But then when he started seeing all the people that I was meeting 20 patients a day or whatever, you know. I'm meeting all these new people. I'm meeting all these new, you know, coworkers.
And I'm
meeting
sure you want to come home and
all
share
these
some of that too,
doctors,
right?
right?
Right. You want to go home and talk about that, download your day. And
Yeah.
how did he respond to that?
He wasn't interested.
Right. He didn't want to hear about it.
Mm-hmm. So I have always dumped myself into my work.
I can relate to that.
Because of that, I think. That's my relationship to serve.
So
What's the future look like for Tracy? What are you doing now? What do you hope to do in 5 years?
Honestly, it might take me more like 10. But there's a goal. I would love to become a holistic practitioner. I think my life experiences, when you go in really deep, again, could help many. Before I left Florida, I had gotten into botanicals and herbs a lot. I even had my own little like side business, per se, for about 7 years. I got into that because my sister came down with cancer, and she wanted to change out whatever she could, whether it be her shampoo, whether it be her laundry detergent, whether it be, you know, perfumes, soaps, whatever, that was ferritin free and no dyes, no artificial
Right.
nothing. And I was like, well, if this is the way I can help you, because I can't help you from Florida, you know, if this is the way that I can help you, then I will start looking into other things that you can, you know, kind of eliminate. Plus, I've always been a kind of nerd like that. I like botany. I like learning about native plants and their medical uses, which, of course, led me down another path. Plant medicine, of course. So while I was researching all of her needs with the cancer, there was 2 other people that came up with cancer that I also did the same thing for. While I was digging on all of that, I came across real, I guess you could say, plant medicine, which got my curiosity up for the ayahuasca and combo. So I did go down that path to help me. When I seen the divorce getting worse and worse, and I couldn't fix it, there was nothing left for me to try or to do or even attempt at that point, because I didn't matter. I focused on me even more. And I made a lot of people mad at that time for wanting to heal me, and lost a lot of friends and a lot of family. There was things exposed to me during those ayahuasca ceremonies that I had shoved down deep. And when a few of those things were talked about, finally, there was a lot of shutting down. So instead of talking about it in full detail or letting it out, they would rather me not talk about it again. And at that point, I said, we weren't here to feel shame. That was an emotion that is more man-made and given to us as humans, I feel. No one should ever have to feel shame in that aspect.
From the victim standpoint, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So this is so confusing because you're very cryptic.
It
You're
is.
having a ayahuasca session with your family, and then you start to discuss things with them. You do this somewhere else and come back and ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you're trying to find this. These things have been dredged up, and I'm trying to find some sort of closure. You want to talk to them, and they go back to the same thing they did when you were a child.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. And they would rather not talk about it.
Even after all this time.
Right. Because again, it's something that they just don't want to talk about.
Yeah, that's that way of thinking that,
It's over. It's done. Leave it alone.
It's nothing. It didn't affect them the way it affected you. It's not something they think about the way you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, it's not important to them.
Which made me realize that I've been surrounded my whole life by people who really didn't love me.
I don't know.
Not in the type of love that...
So I would agree with that, but not so much too, because I think everyone deals with things like that differently. And sometimes, I don't know who you're talking about specifically, but just trying to give you a little bit of way to think that, like, they just didn't know what to say. They didn't know what to do, which is a good excuse when you're younger. But now that all this has happened and you're older, it feels like you're thinking they should, admit to this. They should help me to heal, and they don't want to.
No, not that they should. They should really want to.
Yeah, well, the human and moral side of them.
If you really want to look at the should, it should have happened when I was 8.
Right.
Or it should have happened at 15 when everything was exposed and they actually came to visit me to ask me about the rape.
Uh-huh.
Because he was finally busted on another person or child.
Yeah.
That they were like, well, if he did this.
So he got caught. Then he comes and he's like, oh.
Which then everyone came back to me, the whole single girl, in that area at that time. Let's go visit her and see if she has anything to tell us. So it was like, to me, and I feel now it's almost like that old saying, and before, whenever I heard it, it would kind of make me mad. But now when I hear it, it doesn't make me mad. Family, it doesn't have to be blood.
Mm-hmm.
When I was younger, I felt family was first. Even with everything that happened, it was just our family. Like this was the way that it was. And if this is love, then this is love.
Like, be loyal to it.
Right. Jumping ahead when you're a lot older and you kind of see where a lot of things kind of, fell under the rug and a lot of things were never talked about. A lot of things were never important enough. It's like family, is it really family?
Mm-hmm.
At least not the family that I thought. And I really think it stems back. And yes, I did several of the ayahuasca ceremonies. And each one had its own intention. I started with my mother wound. I think in the beginning I had a lot of resentment for her. Being a single mom herself. Because, of course, my mom and dad divorced when I was 3. So her raising me by herself, she literally did do the best she could. especially for that time. I watched my mom go through a lot of things that probably teenagers shouldn't watch. And I told myself that I would never become her, but I would learn from her. And I did, which I think has made me different than the rest of my family, which, of course, growing up made me different from the rest of my family, which I think is where some of the sibling resentment stems from, because I'd always been rebellious in a way, to the fact that if no one wants to listen to me, then I will leave. So growing up, I did run away a lot. I ran away a lot, enough to piss my mom off to where she ships me off to Germany. And I don't know if you remember that stint through high school, but I wasn't there for a couple years. My youngest brother took custody of me, and he was in the military. So he was stationed in Germany at that time. So when she gave up her parental rights, I was 15 and spent a little over a year there before I came back to the States when my grandmother passed. And when she passed, I stayed. I didn't go back. But there was things that happened even in Germany that kind of folded in to making sense with the whole journey. So it's been very fruitful. It has.
So looking back, lessons learned.
Yeah.
What advice can you give to women in your situation? You know, we've talked about a few things, you know, anything from the age of being young, something that's a sign, something that changed, anything you can give there that's, you know, at this
It
age
would
you
have
have
to
a
be
lot
more
of,
Pacific.
well, anything that stands out to you. Like, again, back to that one point where everything changed or everything went a certain direction. Is there something in there that you can say, if I could redo this, this is what I would do? A pivotal point or two?
To be honest, everything that life, or even if it wasn't really life, maybe it was just my choices, led me, then it was something that I had to learn. I don't honestly think, even with the regret of 25 years with my now ex, and I had this conversation with a friend earlier, I wouldn't take it away. I wish I would have noticed the signs earlier and stuck to my gut and wasn't so convinced that this was it. And allowing some of the stuff that I did allow, even though it was on repeat, you know, in some cases. But it was almost like, well, it wasn't as bad as that one, you know. And I just felt, being that he was older, maybe all of this is just supposed to be this way. You know, I was younger. So I let it slide.
So how about resentment, regret? Because, like you said, that part of that's regret, right? I don't regret it because it made me who I am, but you would rather see someone else not have to go through it if they can see the signs. Right? Wrong?
Yeah, only because those things happened to me in the younger years, allowed me to be mature about it for when it happened in the later years. Does that make sense?
Kinda. I mean, experiencing something more than once makes it different the fifth time than it is the first time.
But it was how it's delivered. Like, they all weren't the same. So in my mind, I think it was something that I just continued to have to learn, because eventually I would see where that lesson was going to come into play. Kind of like, and I'll go here only because some people do know who he is, and he's no longer with us, is my oldest brother, Dickie. I will try to keep my very, very personal feelings about why he's no longer with us to myself, but because that takes us down a different route. But I did attempt suicide when I was 17. There was things that I knew about that I didn't want to know about anymore. And, of course, a few life choices that I was done with. And I figured that would be my best way out. A year later, I'm being told that I'm pregnant. So, to me, she was my life changer. I vowed at that point to put her first, even above myself. And I did for a long time, until I met my second husband. But going through that attempt, I almost feel like that again was supposed to be a lesson to learn to help someone later with. And I feel that it was probably my oldest brother.
That did what?
There was things that's very questionable about his death. When he passed, I will assume that it was suicidal. Because of notes that were, or text messages that were sent, certain conversations that were had with other family members before it happened. A post on Facebook saying sorry. There was a lot of things there that made a lot of us believe that it was, him.
Okay, I don't understand where the confusion is. I don't even understand what we're talking about. So you're saying he committed suicide or he didn't?
At that time, that was the reality of it, is what I'm saying. There was a lot of things that he had done and said and sent that made it look that way. For several months, that's what we all believed, until the toxicology report came back and said it was a heart failure. But in those months, I made myself feel ashamed, because I felt that if he was in that place, I should have talked to him more. I should have. Yeah. I should have.
Yeah, it's a survivor's regret kind of thing too, man. I had the same thing happen with a young boy last year. So I understand that feeling, because he actually wanted me to help him. I was actually trying to help him. We was actually talking. His mother had reached out to me to help him. We had spent time together. And, like, what if I would have been there that day type of idea.
Right.
Yeah, I get that completely. I've thought about that way too many times to talk about.
So it's like, was I put on that path to have educated myself enough? Because I'd already been down that road. I know how it felt. I know what I should have done and didn't. And here's this opportunity. And I didn't do enough.
Yeah, I think the question you got to ask there is, could you have done anything anyways?
No.
Because-
Not with him.
Right. Same thing with this guy too, man. I don't really think I could have.
I mean,
Maybe I could have. Maybe that's what we got to tell ourselves, so that you don't feel that way, like you could have done something forever.
mm-hmm.
You could have changed something. Because, I got the call when I was here, and just seen the guy. Just helped us record a video. And now
And that's where I was stuck for a few months. And in that regret, and in that time, it's like, maybe if I would have called more, maybe if I would have picked up, maybe if I would have texted back. But, of course, it was in the middle of the night, But the toxology report said that it was more of a heart issue, which makes sense too. But won't go down that hole. But like I said, I feel like these things happen to me for a reason. I've come through every single one of them, including that. There's been several times I really probably shouldn't even be sitting here right now. Whether it been from when I got hit by a car to, being with the wrong people out one night, and, we wrecked several vehicles. We flipped one, and it's like, I really shouldn't even be here.
Yep, I relate to that too.
I attempted to take my own life, so it's like, and it didn't work, and it's like, it's gotten me here, There was healing already started at that point, but it wasn't mature enough to have realized that it had nothing to do with me, and I needed to stop blaming myself for what he did, which actually allowed me to find forgiveness for my rapist. So it did help, in that aspect. To find forgiveness for yourself, though, is really hard. For allowing certain things.
Right. Well, hindsight's 20/20, right?
But there's a reason why. So there was always a reason why.
Which is?
No, there was a lesson in that, is what I'm saying. There was always a reason why. So if you kind of start digging on the reason why you did this, or why you allowed that, or why you thought that way,
right?
There was always a reason why. If you sit long enough, you will get to that reason why. There's a reason why you get up every morning and you have your same routine to go get coffee, go to the bathroom.
We're creatures of habit too. We're creatures of habit.
There's a
lot of
there's a
humans
reason
don't like
why.
change.
Yeah.
It's hard to make a change sometimes. Even when you're in a bad situation, it's hard to switch it up because that's what you're used to.
And there's a reason why.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why that you function, not saying you, but you function in chaos, or you allow certain people to do certain things to you, or you allow certain people to talk to you the way that they do. There was always a reason why, For several years, I allowed a lot of people in my family to talk to me like I was a dog. There was a reason why. To me, they were family, and that's just how they were.
You were loyal to family.
That's just how they were. So take them with a grain of salt or allow it to hurt my feelings. But it is really hard to forgive yourself for all the things that kind of molded and shaped to this point.
Okay. I think we're pretty good. You want to wrap it up?
I don't know what to wrap.
I mean, that's
You didn't
pretty,
say much. You had me all talking.
I mean, that's the point. I talk enough on these videos. I get tired of hearing me talk.
I think it went back and forth and around and back again.
Mm-hmm.
But where I'm at now, there's still healing to be done. And I guess this is the wrap up. Eventually, you find your tribe. If anybody is out there struggling through the hardest thing to the simplest thing, because that one simple thing might be so simple and so small compared to what had happened a week ago or a month ago or whatever to them. Keep going, because it's only in that moment, in my opinion. At that moment, you decide whether or not it's an opportunity or an obstacle. Choose the opportunity.
Right.
I want to take the experiences to help others. I think that's where I best serve. And with that said, I think healing for me is in that same action. Like,
Sure. Yeah, and being able to
the
show
more
somebody.
you talk about it,
Yeah,
the
the more
more
you
it
talk
helps.
about it, the more you help yourself, the more you help other people. And then there's a healing from being able to help other people avoid what you've been through.
Yeah.
There's definitely that, because I know what it's like to get people off of drugs and get them out of that same circle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a different circle, but it's still the same circle of traumatic experiences and horrible things.
Yep. I mean, as long as you don't allow it to empty your cup, drain you from
Mm-hmm.
it all, you know. If you have just a little bit of hope, sometimes can help, or
Never know what tomorrow is going to bring.
find that one person
Mm-hmm.
that will at least entertain what you're saying or listen to what you've got to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I said, find the tribe, but it could be as simple as that sometimes, you know. And then of course, you know, back to Dickie. It might have been as simple as that, but it wasn't simple.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever that simple.
No.
We don't ever know what's going on in their heads, because I've tried to think about what was going on in his head 100 times. All he had to do was go to jail and he could have come home.
Right.
How hard was that? You
Right.
would have been home by now,
Right.
sober.
There was something there, yeah, that he didn't want to go to jail for.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Do you want to drop any of your socials or anything like that for anyone to be able to find you? Or
My
'Cause,
socials,
yeah.
I only got Facebook.
I mean, normally we drop that right here in case somebody wants to contact you. Unless you guys want to leave a comment, I'm sure you'll see the videos. You can check out the comments as well.
But on Facebook, I'm TL Hawkins. That's it.
And I think a lot of this for you is coming out of the shadows, right? Because I feel like you're kind of defensive and hidden, and you didn't really want to be out there like this. So a lot of this is revealing for you.
Well, a lot of the 90%, I guess you could say at this point, of what brought me, or you know, to come talk to you, to reach out to you, say it's time. Here we are saying that we were going to wrap it up, but I think this is necessary. Because again, it opens another spot to possibly help. But in that divorce that started late in December 21, when everything kind of evolved into we were definitely getting separated and I left, I had chosen to be homeless versus staying another night there. Long story short, I left Florida with what I could put in my van that I purchased, and I hit the road. Trying to stay in the area until I knew what was next with the divorce stages, because it was different there than it was here. A lot different when you're married 25 years or been together over that to, a 1 year split, we had a lot more assets and time invested, but choosing to be homeless, not, like I said, not that I was a material person anyway, because I didn't only need what I need. I loved the first 2 years because it was very awakening for me, very awakening. But as he seen that I was enjoying that, he made sure that it wasn't enjoyable for the last two up until now, from 23 to now. I allowed him to take everything. At first I was like 50-50. Just, I want done. We don't have any kids together. So there's nothing that, I'm just done. But it didn't work out that way. Coming back and forth from Florida to here or wherever else I was going to go, because in my mind, once I got that money, I would start off wherever I went. At this point, I could go wherever I wanted. But I chose to come back home. I felt more familiar. Whether or not it was just job hunting familiar or just familiar roads. But I have kind of been hiding for the last couple of years. So yes, this is very coming out and coming forward. The last couple of years have been put in a predicament or in the space of keeping me silent. And I feel that him knowing my history, him knowing my past, he knew that loyalty was important to me. So to stay loyal to him even in the divorce, he knew I would most likely stay silent. But I feel like my voice was taken from me at 8. Mm-hmm. And I have been struggling my whole life to be heard. So that's what brings me to you. And that's why it's time to take my voice and help others with it.
I hope you do that, man. Like I said, I've seen quite a few of these be able to reach the right people. So see who sees it and see what kind of comments or reactions you get. People, I can link your name and stuff so people can find you if they want to talk to you, because I've seen them do that before too. But stay in that same form, stay in that same headspace. Continue healing, helping other people, and talking about it. Letting people know that they can talk about it.
Right. You don't have to do it in isolation, which is where he wanted me to be. But I told him from the beginning, you mess with the wrong person. I'm okay with being by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I have raised myself my whole life. I was, yeah, like I said, the first couple of years I was enjoying it. Trying different places to see where I was going to move to, see where I was going to start over at. Looking for that fresh start. So yeah, there was a lot of good in that he'll never take away. And I'm glad I went down the road that I did, truth be told. Even though it sounds like it sucks and it sounds like maybe to somebody, would they still be here? Would one of those events been the last one?
Yeah, you never know.
So.
Okay.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, y'all know what it is, man. Drop a like, drop a comment, let Tracy know what y'all think. Especially the ladies out there, because I think my intro is going to be a lot about the ladies. And until next time.
And it's not just, just because this is coming from a woman doesn't mean that it can't be the other way around. There's women out there that, do the same thing.
Well, sure.
So it's not nothing discriminatory.
All right, y'all. So next time. You like that?
See?
Bro, they fall sometimes and scare me to death. All right, till next time. Don't sweat the petty things. Pet the sweaty things.